After the events of You Season 1, Joe Goldberg fled New York and moved to Los Angeles in an attempt to hide in a city where everyone else wants to stick out. He met up with a guy named Will, who was going to give him a new identity, but instead, Joe caged Will and took over his identity. Will helped Joe hack into Henderson's social media, and he helped Joe get past Henderson's home security, and eventually, Joe let him go. Will is now in Manila, living with his online girlfriend, and Joe is buying his silence by sending him money every few months. So that's nice. Joe actually let someone go. But in the process, he also killed someone, Jasper. Joe had caught Jasper following him, and Will told Joe that he owed Jasper $3,000. So Joe gave Jasper the $3,000, but it turned out that Will owed Jasper $50,000. Will told Joe that Rufus owed him that, so Joe went to a party and got the goods, but the goods turned out to be a bag of foreign off-brand medication for Will. Out of options, Joe brought Jasper to the storage unit and offered up Will, but Jasper didn't want Will. He wanted the money. So he went to stab Joe, but Joe luckily stabbed him first. Next up, Henderson. Joe moved into a place where he could spy on Love. Delilah was the residential manager there, and Delilah had a younger sister named Ellie, whom Joe began to look at as a daughter. Delilah told Joe that a popular comedian named Henderson was a pervert who had abused her when she was younger, and Ellie had begun interning with Henderson, so obviously Will grew concerned. One night, Ellie went over to Henderson's to show him her film, and Henderson tried to drug her. But instead, Joe drugged Henderson. When Henderson came to, Joe's mask came off, and Henderson recognized him. Henderson almost escaped, but Joe threw him back, and Henderson died. So Joe cleaned up the scene, but Officer Fincher caught Joe throwing away the evidence, including a very expensive set of headphones. So the police thought it was suicide, but over time, Fincher came to believe that Joe killed Henderson. Next up, the Welk End. Joe had begun working at Anavrin so that he could get close to Love. They became a couple, and Love's twin, named Forty, also befriended Joe. Love and Forty's parents hosted a retreat on their anniversary, and Forty brought his new girlfriend, who turned out to be none other than the woman of Joe's nightmares, the woman whom Joe had buried, thinking she was dead, Joe's ex-girlfriend, Candace. And Candace was determined to take down Joe. Season 1 had ended with Joe killing Beck and tricking Blythe into publishing a book in Beck's name, and Candace convinced Forty to adapt that book into a screenplay. After the wellness retreat, Love hired a private investigator to investigate Candace, and she confronted Candace in Joe's apartment. Candace told Love the truth about Will. Will denied the allegations, but ultimately, Love broke up with him. Love started dating some Australian dude named Milo, and Joe began to hook up with Delilah. But Love and Joe still wanted each other, and Forty hated Milo. So he started an argument with Milo in front of Love, and that was the end of Love and Milo. Meanwhile, Officer Fincher convinced Delilah that Joe may have killed Henderson, so she snuck into his apartment to snoop around. Delilah found the storage keys, and thus she found the vault, but Joe had seen her on his nanny cam, so he locked Delilah in the vault. Joe did not want to kill her. His plan was to escape, and her handcuffs would open automatically after a set period of time. Unfortunately, Forty messed up Joe's plans by hiring some Russians to fake kidnap them and lock them in a hotel room until they finished Forty's new movie script. They wrote it, but Ellie said that it was no good. So Forty escaped out the window, and Joe followed him to the bar, where Forty secretly laced Joe's drink with a lot of LSD. In other words, time was ticking down on Delilah's handcuffs, and Joe was tripping hard. The next day, Joe found Delilah dead in the vault, and could not remember whether or not he had killed her. And it turned out, he did not. Love had killed Delilah. And not just Delilah. Here's what really went down. When Love was a child, her parents' au pair had assaulted Love's twin brother Forty, so Love killed her. And Love's rich and connected parents made it look as if she had killed herself. Similarly, in order to protect his mother, Joe had killed his father. So both Joe and Love were killers at a very early age, and because of that, they were both broken. Joe and Love had fallen in love with each other, or as they would say, they had fallen in a wolf. But Joe had written Love a farewell note since he had to flee after locking Delilah in the vault. So Love was heartbroken. Love went to the storage unit and killed Delilah. But no one knew that she was a killer, not even Joe. While Joe and 40 were tripping, 40 hit up Candace for a booty call, and she saw the storage locker in the video. So Candace went there and found Joe inside with Delilah. Candace locked Joe inside and called Love. So Love came, and Joe admitted his guilt about everything, including the death of Delilah. Joe said that he had done everything out of love, which was something that Love could relate to, having killed that au pair out of love for her brother. So that moved Love. She decided to kill Candace and then went and professed her true love to Joe. Unfortunately for her, Love tried to use Ellie as a scapegoat, and Joe looked at Ellie like a daughter, so he was pissed. Joe tricked Love into opening the vault and was about to kill her, but then he found out that she was pregnant. So these two crazy kids moved on. They went to Love's friend's wedding and thought everything was golden, but it was not. Now, the ending. During his LSD trip, 40 realized that Dr. Nikki had not killed Beck. She had been killed by the mysterious ex-boyfriend, and later he realized that it was Joe. Dr. Nikki wouldn't help, so 40 took matters into his own hands. He went to the store and was about to kill Joe, but Fincher showed up and shot 40 instead, which paved the way for Joe and Love to move on. Joe had sent Ellie away with money, so she's still out there. Joe is periodically paying Will to stay silent, and in the meantime, Joe and Love moved into a new home in the suburbs. And here's the best part. When Joe thought that he had killed Delilah, he found the hidden key in the vault, but threw it out, feeling as if he deserved to be imprisoned. Now, he is technically free, but he no longer wolfs Love. So his new suburban home is another prison of sorts. Luckily for him, Joe noticed someone new, his neighbor.